wait for Theo to harass you.
Yeah, well, Theo, I don't think Theo's that bad in a lot of respects. I think he's a...
Well, I didn't say he was bad. I was just saying he loves to harass people, especially when he gets a few beers on him.
He seems to not suffer fools. Kind of like...
Who's Theo?
Theo DeRat.
Oh, okay, the author of Open BSD.
But he's the original project coordinator and instigator and author.
Yeah. He sometimes has a temper. So,
what's his day job?
BSD.
BSD, he just, he coordinates it. All the developers essentially report to him, and he does the integration. He has all the servers at his house, so he's got, he had these hellacious
Well, they heat his house.
power bills and everything.
They
Yeah.
heat his house in the wintertime.
Yeah, well, I think they'd probably more than heat his house.
Yeah,
in the
probably.
wintertime.
Probably has to run the air conditioning in the wintertime, which...
No, just open a window.
Just open the window, right?
This, was it Western Canada?
That'll work.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know it's in Canada.
Canada somewhere.
Anyway, yeah, he's got all these servers, and it's a project that really prides itself, or has in the past, in supporting a lot of older hardware, and they support newer stuff too as they get specs, you know. But the Linux world tends to sign NDAs a lot more willingly than these guys ever will. Like, they won't, and so they don't get documentation as freely as something like Linux. So anyway, that's kind of one of the differences in the project. And then project-wise, if you're not familiar with it, they use the BSD license, so there's no, you know, the GPL or GPL3 especially would be, you know, not ever spoken there, and they try as well as they can to exclude anything like that from the software. You know, they might have it available, you know, something with the GPL available as a port, but it's not ever going to be part of the base system, really.
But is this saying that they are freer than the free software?
Yeah, there's no restrictions at all.
So...
There's no share-alike restriction.
Right, there's free, as in it's the simplest license. It's yours to do with what you want, period.
More so than RMS, okay.
Right. There is no share-alike.
Oh.
So it is not a viral license like GNU.
It's just there.
Yeah.
It's
BSD
yours
is
to-
not a virus.
I always hear RMS as being, you know, one of the freest paradigms.
No.
We don't hear about BSD a lot.
No, BSD is much freer. RMS just likes to think he owns the word free.
Yes, and he'll sell it to you anytime.
Well, to his defense, RMS considers free as in community beneficial, whereas Theo says, I don't give a shit. It's there.
yeah.
RMS is a socialist. Theo is a libertarian.
Okay. It is what it is.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Theo does not want to put any restrictions on you. If you're commercial and you want to use it, that's fine. You know.
Oh, before I forget, we now have a friend in the Missouri House of Representatives. Our own friendly libertarian sales rep, Tony Labasco.
Oh, wow.
He starts his class December 1st. 2 weeks full-time
Wow.
in the Missouri House. And if we need him after that, he said, send me an email, I'll happily set you up. But he can't respond to phone calls, and it might take a little longer. So.
Is he like a member of the House of Representatives? Or?
Yeah, he won his election from District 79, I think, which is the northwest corner of 70 and 79.
And a pretty high percentage too, I think.
Oh yeah, he got like 70% or something like that.
Where's his area?
Northwest Territory from 79 and 70.
The northwest quadrant of that?
Yeah. It's from there out 10 miles or whatever, like the stadium, THF Stadium or whatever it is.
So O'Fallon.
No, North O'Fallon.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the north side of the highway, but 10 miles from that intersection is almost Wright City.
No, north.
North.
Towards Lincoln County.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, how
It's-
far west does it go?
There's a map, you can look up a map for it,
Okay.
but basically it's northwest. Apparently he lives out there, or I don't know if he does or not, but that's, the Republicans didn't have anybody running, or their candidate disappeared or something, so they drafted him after he didn't win St. Charles County. I mean, he's got a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, I like Tony, he's always been decent with me, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
of course, my first question was, okay, when do we get the port? He said, huh? I said, oh my God, an honest politician, what a thought. All right, Brian, back to you, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So, OpenBSD's added a VMD, virtual machine daemon, so we can now have virtual machines in BSD, and it's in OpenBSD, and it's very easy to set up. At least setting the actual virtual machine up. Some of the other stuff is a little bit harder, but I guess let's go up there. So you've got serial console access to the virtual machines. You can use tap interfaces. So let's see. Per VM.
Question. Serial console, you mean serial access from the host? Is that the idea?
You can. It would be
Virtual.
the guest. So you can go in as the console into the guest.
So from the host, you can use TTY as a console to the guest.
Something like that. Well,
Okay.
The command's further on down. But,
Okay.
you've got the privilege separation stuff. You've got QCOW2, which is the file format that they're using. So it's the one that QEMU supports. So you've got a file that you can put your basically your raw data into, and it'll grow as it needs to. You set it up with the size that you want it to be ultimately, but it seems to start smaller and grow up to that size. You can dump and restore memory. You can take a copy of that file, move it over to another machine, and if it's similarly plumbed, I think you can restart something over there. You can't do live switching though. Virtual switch management, haven't done anything with that.
Well,
Pausing
it
them.
says live migration there. Have you ever looked at that?
Hmm?
It says live migration there. Have you ever looked at
I
that?
didn't think it.
I'm sorry, not available. Never mind. Live migration.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry.
can't do that. So it doesn't support graphics. I haven't tried anything to see how much, validity there is in this fact, but I assume it's still. I assume this is up to date. The latest version just came out, 6.4. No snapshots, no guest SMP support, no hardware pass-through, live migration across hosts, or live hardware change. The big thing here, when you get down to the next section, this is where I screwed up, the prerequisites. My laptop died, and I didn't really want to go spend $1,000 for a good laptop, because I hate spending money on stuff if I don't have to. And old hardware is great, especially Lenovo's, because OpenBSD runs great with Lenovo equipment. So I was in the shop and I found this for 185 bucks. I thought, score, I'm going to get that. Well, this little D message right up here, where you need to egrupt for those things, well, that failed on this machine. So this was going to be a live demo. I mean, obviously I couldn't have projected anyway, but I built the VMs the VM on my tower, and I just pulled the drive over, shoved it in here. I thought, I don't have to do much, any configuration. I got everything up and running, and I wanted to get rid of the spinny disk and save Windows off someplace else, so I threw it in here, and it didn't work. So this wasn't going to end up being a live demo tonight, after all. Basically, what you do to get this thing started up, if that D-message and egrupt is successful, you do the RCCTL enable the VMD and start the VMD. So the stuff is all out there.
Take a minute and fill in RCCTL for people that aren't BSD familiar.
RCCTL is just how you start a service or a daemon like that. So you enable it and then you start it
There's a
up.
better way to say it. That's System D for BSD.
Huh?
That's System D for BSD.
Okay, fine, if you want
Actually,
to say
it
it that
says
way.
5 for
I wouldn't
BSD.
say
System
it that
5
way,
for
no.
BSD, okay.
RC, it's RC, it's the old RC system.
If you want to explain it that way, it's kind of a foul kind of way to say it, though, right?
I don't know, he drinks that, System D Kool-Aid.
Well, I figured that's what everybody's talking about today. Nowadays, you use System Cuddle.
Yeah.
20 years ago, you'd use System 5, RC Cuddle. RC CTL or System CTL.
So once you do that, you've got the virtual machine up and running in those two commands. Now, if you go down to starting a VM, you use vmctl to create that QCOW2 file. And there they used the -s to create a 50 gig image file size. And then the next command they're showing there, vmctl start. That one is when you install OpenBSD, you've got a few different ways to do it. You can use a file called bsd.rd, which is a gosh, I can't think of the word. Anyway, it's an image for BSD. This one they're using install. So install 64 would be the 6.4 version of OpenBSD. So it's basically taking that ISO image and running that image within your virtual machine. So that command up there is allowing you to install OpenBSD within the image. OpenBSD, and I would have shown this if I could have and all that stuff. It's literally maybe a 5 or 10 minute installation to install OpenBSD. It just asks you a few questions, boom, 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 you're up and running. That ISO will carry around any of the packages that you need for your first installation. So we've got the different X libraries and your system commands and anything like that that's in your first maybe 10 packages or whatever. Anyway, that all ships with that ISO. So that essentially creates your machine, and then vmctl show shows you that it's up and running. So really in basically 5 commands, you've got the whole virtual machine up and running and OpenBSD installed within it. And then down below, you'd asked about TTYing into the thing. You can attach to the serial console of the virtual machine with that command there, vmctl console. And that example there is corresponding to what they used up there in the vmctl command in the top part. So that allows you your access in. And then at that point, you're in the console of that virtual machine. So it's really easy to spin up. The other thing that's kind of notable about this, which is fun, we've got the ability now to run Linux within OpenBSD. So, like I said before, there's no graphics support, but you can run a command line text-based Linux. So the ones they've messed around with so far is Alpine Linux runs fine within OpenBSD. I think I saw that somebody had Ubuntu running. Somebody was working with Debian, so they're up and coming as far as Linux support within BSD. But at least we can do that now. If you could scroll down some, see if there's anything yeah, and then that's just stopping the machine. You can use vm.conf instead of all that stuff on the command line and set up what your virtual machine is. So if you want to create that virtual machine called example, you can put that in vm.conf with whatever arguments that you want to have, your memory size and
From experience, I recommend doing it in a conf file, because without a GUI, you have no way to see what settings you used.
That's true. That's very good. Yep. Let's see. Obviously, any of the commands like that, vm.conf for VMD, you can read the man pages. OpenBSD's got great man pages if you haven't used it before. Networking, you definitely need to go through the networking thing if you're going to set it up, because you really need to get your communications going between your machine and the virtual machine that you've configured, or virtual machine going out. So if you want to scroll down from there, I'm not a networking guy at all. I'm a programmer, so basically you just go through that. You can the different options. If you only need to talk to the host and each other between the virtual machines, you can use VMCTLs, LFLAG. If you want to NAT them together, or NAT the VMs out through, you can use that setup. I don't know. Yeah, this was if you want to use Bridge and vEther. I messed around with it some. I don't remember where I stood on that one. I was trying different things at the time. And go down. There's one more. Oh yeah, and that's basically how you need to set it up. So basically, you're setting up your virtual Ethernet connection, setting up a bridge between them, and then down there you've got the in OpenBSD we've got a firewall called PF. PFSense is used in FreeBSD. I don't know if there's an equivalent for PF in Linux. Have they ported it to Linux? Do you know? Anyway, if you scroll down a little bit further than that, yeah. So again, you can set up your vm.conf with some of your communication stuff, and then VMs as real hosts on the same network. I did not mess with that at all. But yeah, it spun up real easily. I didn't use it much. I don't really have a whole lot of use for a virtual machine myself. Gary said, "Hey Brian, what's new in BSD?" And I said, "Well, we got this." And he said, "Do you want to talk about it?" So, as things go with Gary, hi Gary, that's how I ended up doing this. And he kept calling me, and my mom kept trying to die on me, and all that stuff. And so anyway, we eventually got around to it. So that's where this came from. So anyway, this was just to be a short introduction to it. So.
Is this your document that you wrote?
No, this is the actual FAQ on the OpenBSD site. So if you go to openbsd.org/FAQ/FAQ16.html, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, here's the link down if you want to put it down. /FAQ/FAQ16, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, FAQ16.html.
What's the difference between this and Beehive?
I don't know. Beehive runs on FreeBSD.
It's just FreeBSD?
Yeah, as far as I know. That's theirs. Ours is probably a lot more primitive. This I think started around 6.0. We're up to 6.4. And it's, I think 6.1, they had it up and running, kind of, and now it seems like it's getting more performant and everything. But that's about all I know. I haven't gone into it that far. Let's see. I guess that's really what I've got on it.
Okay.
But it is easy to set up, and it does work. And beyond that, I don't really have a virtual machine use, like I said. So.
Speaking of which, a while back you talked about OpenBSD on a Pi.
Yeah.
Has that gotten any more mature?
It has, although I haven't messed with that either lately.
Oh.
I've been bad. I've been solely stuck in the Windows world for a while.
Is there anything here in the facts about it by chance?
There should be under installation. there should be a version for, the thing about the Pi was you had to connect over serial connection and everything, so it was a little bit more involved to get going. So basically, you had to set up the TTY at your baud rate to go into the Pi console interface and then go up from there. It only runs on the Pi 3. Yeah.
See, how old is this? It won't run on a 2?
No. Unless they've changed it. I don't think they were going to try though.
No, because
Yeah, this is year old, so.
you've got to really want to use BSD if you're going to put it on a Pi. There's so much. One of the problems with the Pi is there's really only one operating system that everybody uses.
Yeah.
So if you want anything resembling support or help, you've got to use Raspbian, or be prepared to go at your own.
Yeah. But what's the fun of that?
Well, that's what I said. You just have to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, it's so as far as the Pi is concerned, it's a little bit more involved. You need a specialized serial cable if you're going to use a USB. So there's there's a breakout thing where you can plug into the different header pins on a Pi and go from there. But that's easy enough.
Okay. All right, any questions? Anybody break anything this week?
I have one more question about the VM actually.
Okay.
Sure.
Do you use any code, is any code used from jails to make the VM work? I heard a talk at some point that like VMs were really just kind of like pared down jails or like scaled up jails or something.
No.
Is that?
No.
No one else I've ever talked to has agreed with this opinion, but they were doing a talk specifically on containers, and they said it was Chroot, jails, VMs, containers.
No, that's the progression. There's no linkage between them.
There's no linkage in
Correct.
code.
Just different categories.
Yeah. Cheroots and jails are originally done as file system tweaks. If you're in a jail or Cheroot, you can't get up the file system.
Yeah.
And there's no physical isolation. It just prevents you from getting outside that part of the file system. Once you get to, I forget what VMs are a self-contained disk object in memory that you run under a host OS.
It's a complete system, basically.
It's a complete system.
Inside that chunk of memory and drive space.
Well,
It's just a complete system.
it's a physical disk image.
Mhm.
In that disk image is everything needed to run the system.
Mhm.
And then the host OS provides some kind of virtualization layer, which makes that disk image think he's running on real hardware.
And volumes can be shared like you can with two real machines, or with multiple real machines. So there's communication between them. You're basically communicating with a different machine, which happens to be inside the same CPU that you're using otherwise.
So you can't say that like you've got your jail that's a separate file system from this, and you kind of like added insulation to share
No.
the hardware
No.
more.
They're
No.
different.
Totally different.
They're entirely just a different way of arriving at the same apparent illusion.
Remember, Cheroots and jails
Same illusion. Yeah.
are just a logical block on the file system, which means you can't go up beyond the root of that jail. That's all it is. If you want to play around in memory, if you want to play around physically with disk sectors, you can get out of the jail. But theoretically, the software you're running in there doesn't allow you to do that.
They're all illusions. It's just different way of arriving at the same illusion.
Yeah. A VM, on the other hand, runs a physical OS inside that image And the only thing that it doesn't know about is what happens after it issues a disk call. Because the disk call is intercepted by the virtualization layer, and the virtualization layer translates it to, like say the disk manager in the VM wants block 1000. Well, who knows where 1000 is? So he issues a call to his OS, which has a physical driver in it from the virtualization layer, which translates that number 1000 into whatever that block would be in his image.
But the virtual machine doesn't see that. He's doing
Right.
the same disk operation you would in any other context. It's just, here's a hazy space you go through. Normally
Yeah.
you go through and you
Yeah,
get
that's
a
all
full
I
drive.
need.
Here you get a simulation of the drive.
Just get the paperwork.
Yeah, does that make sense?
It's all an illusion.
It makes sense, I'm just wondering why this guy,
Be-
told the
well,
story the way he
it sounds
did.
like he didn't present it right. He presented a progression
Yeah.
of maturation in virtualization technology. You could technically call a jail or a Chroot virtualization from the standpoint it isolates the code from everything else.
Yeah.
But that's the least robust way to do it.
And hasn't this been done in different ways at different times?
Cheroots and
I mean,
jails are the
There's
same
other
thing.
ways to do it, though, in the past that are, I mean, VMCMS, isn't that doing
I'm
the
sorry, I
same?
don't go back that far.
Well, ancient history. Once upon a time, our ancient ancestors did the same thing in a different way.
Once upon a time, our ancient ancestors used a bobby pin to punch a hole in a paper card too, but I don't care about that.
I believe the phrase you're looking for, Don, is everything old is new again.
Uh-huh.
So get
There's
that
some
bobby
truth to
pin
that
out.
statement.
I'm sorry?
I said, there's truth to that statement.
It is 7:25 on that clock. 7:35 we will get started with my stuff, and then we'll be out of here pretty soon.